Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me. It is Sunday, September the 24th, and this is the 6th edition of these episodes of the Allan Reports since I moved down here to Zacatecas, Mexico. So as they say, it's episode Seis for 6. I've been numbering them in Spanish because I like to remind myself of all the words I need to work on down here. But so this is the 6th episode. We've really been having some exciting picks and results from the companies that I've been talking about in the 6 episodes, and I've got a new group to talk about today. I'm going to talk about some of the stocks I'm covering. And then I recently found out that one of my good high school friends has started to watch the show, and she's bullish on gold. So I'll do a bit at the end about some trends that I'm seeing and why I like these various companies, including all my sponsors. SiriusResources.com, that's Sirius.com. Tudor Gold, Tudor-Gold.com, Wolfden, right over there, Wolfden, Resources.com, and PremierGoldMines.com. I've got a great group of sponsors, as well as Advanced Gold and Alset Minerals, where I'm the president and CEO. We've got exciting things happening at all these various different companies, and I recommend you check out their website. So let's get on with it. Talking stocks first, and the first company I wanted to talk about, actually, I want to go back and look at a couple of the past shows, and there's some specific reasons I want to do that, and so we'll start with that. The first one I wanted to talk about is Wolfden. Wolfden Resources was in the show, the 5th episode, Cinco, and in that episode I talked about 3 new picks. Wolfden had been on a halt, or sorry, not picks, 3 companies that I talked about. They had news. 2 of them one of them was a new pick. One of them I talked about in the past, and one of them is Wolfden Resources, a sponsor of the website. Why I talked about Wolfden on last Monday is they were halted for about 10 days regarding a new acquisition from a project down in Maine that has very high grades in it. And they were coming off the halt the next day. And when they did, the stock's up quite dramatically. It was about 10, 11, or it moved up to 28.5 cents quite aggressively after that news. They had been trading, I think, around 15 or something like that prior to the news. This is a very exciting new project they're involved with. They've already got a couple of exciting projects as well, other than this one, up in Canada. And this just adds to the quality of the company, and I think makes a stronger argument that for a higher valuation for the company. Check out Wolfden, Wolfden Resources, WLF is their symbol. The other company I talked about was GT Gold. GTT is their symbol. I said last Monday that they came out with news at a bad time because gold had rolled over, and but the news was still very good, and I believe strongly in that. I recommend you go look at that last news release. I think this is one of the most exciting new gold discoveries in the Golden Triangle of British Columbia in a long time. It's given me feelings like what I saw with the early days of Pretium PVG, and another stock we were in early on that has done extremely well, and I followed it from the exploration right through to now they're a producer, and I think one of the most compelling junior miners that could move into the intermediate gold mining level, and on from there into a major. Robert Quartermain, very talented guy, runs a company, and I believe it's one you want to look at for any weakness to own that one. And I brought in a new company, a new pick last week in the technology space. And it's done extremely well. It was $1 when I made the pick. It's been as high as, what is it, about $1.70. It moved within right away, right out of the gate, and has done very well. And obviously they just started trading, so this is a brand new story coming out of the block. They've got they traded as high as $1.99. They had they were trading about $1 last week when I picked it. Very early days. Why I like the company is for a few different reasons. And it isn't really even the cryptocurrencies that excites me the most. What really excites me about this company is that they're an infrastructure type play for this blockchain technology. The company's leadership is involved with the largest cryptocurrency mining companies. But what I think is important to point out is that this is blockchain technology can be applied across many, many different industries, and they will need the mining capabilities and the infrastructure that HIVE and their partner Genesis Mining are getting involved with. So this company comes out, and right away they have some good news. The stock moves up dramatically. They do a $30-some million, I think it was $30-some million, let me just get it here, $30 million bought deal financing. What they're using that money for is to get more mining facilities in Iceland. Really strategic move. I believe that this company is what, I called it a lottery pick. The reason I call it a lottery pick is that when companies are successful in these new emerging technologies, if those emerging technologies grow up to be as big as what people are talking about, the potential of blockchain and the cryptocurrencies, you will be looking at valuations in the multi-billions. They are still quite a small company for technology, as technology companies go. But if they are successful, and I think there's a very good chance that they could be, I really like this kid that's running the company, Marco. He's the one that's behind a lot of the technology and being ahead of the crowd. And he talks like a mining guy, which is why I really like the guy. He looks for how to keep the cost low, and in case of fluctuations in the price of Bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies, they want to still be able to make money. And so that's why you need a low cost, just like in mining gold or silver or copper or anything else. How much it costs you is crucially important. And guys that are looking at that bottom line cost are the ones you want to look at in the mining space. And now I also believe in the technology space. HIVE is their stock symbol. I'm going to put out some feelers. I want to try to get management, especially Marco, to come on, and we can talk about technology and how they're using technology to mine their way into an exciting future. HIVE is their symbol. I wanted to talk about my fourth show that I did, Quattro. I did something for the first time in 300 shows that I've done online. I accidentally erased it. And to make matters worse, is I had brought up a new pick on that show, and had some news from my own company, Advanced Gold. Plus, I had a few other picks that I think are really crucial to look at right now. So I'm going to talk about, there was 5 companies on that show, and I'm going to talk about them all, try to roll through these fairly quickly so then I can get into the trend stuff. So one of those picks was, or the new pick from that show was a company called Adamera. ADZ is their symbol. Why I like Adamera is why I made them a pick is twofold. I know the guy who runs the company, Mark Colababa, for quite some time now, and several years, and because Mark was very involved with diamonds, as I had been at the same time, and so, you know, the diamond world is very small, so I knew Mark and all his work, and we had talked many times over the years about diamonds. But when a lot of the diamond guys have recently gone out into other commodities, or in the last couple of years. Mark's now in gold in Washington with this Adamera company. What I like about following people that are involved in the diamonds is that diamonds are really hard to find, and so you have to use various different tools, technological tools, geophysics, geology, all these various different tools to find diamonds. They're so small, and when you do that kind of thorough analysis, it has a way of playing out well in other commodities exploration also. And so Mark has been very thoroughly examining the surface, the geophysics of these projects down in Washington as we were coming out of the gold bear market in late 2015, and then getting into the new gold bull market that started in January of 2016. Mark had been doing a lot of that key exploration work that, you know, is similar to the work that he had done to find diamonds. And what I liked, they had some recent results. The stock had moved up. One of the big newsletter writers, Eric Coffin, had picked it up at about 10 cents, a little after we did. I had Mark on the show in November, 8 or 9 months ago, 10 months ago, when it was trading at about 8 cents. So I'm quite happy that I was ahead of Eric for our audience. The stock went up to, I think, about 30 cents. It's rolled over and come back. But what's interesting is the results that the market didn't get too excited about actually got me impressed enough that I wanted to make them a new pick. And what it was for me in those results is that it's a proof of concept. He is now showing that the method that they used, which is in an area where big discoveries can be found, is working. They're starting to get sniffs. And we say in the business that that's where the smoke is, often is where the fire is. And they're starting to get smoke in their drill holes. And with the work that they had done, now they're confirming the methods that they're using to pick these targets. I think they're going to have more success coming up with their upcoming drill holes. So keep an eye on them, because they're again back down to the 52-week low, and I think they've got the chances of going up from there. That's why I picked them. ADZ is their symbol, or for my friends in America, ADZ. You take a look at that one. They trade on the venture exchange on the TSX. The next company I wanted to talk about is my own company, Advanced Gold. When I inadvertently deleted that, I also deleted the show that was about that I talked about the recent news for the company. We had picked up a silver project, or we're in the process of picking up a silver project, 100% interest in Mexico. The project is called the Tabasqueño silver mine. It was a past-producing project or mine. It's in close. It's shadows of a head frame project. It's in close proximity to the Milagros mine. Milagros was a phenomenally high-grade deposit that they mined and calculated in kilograms per ton, not grams per ton. It's well located on the same fault. This is a past producing from the late 1800s. Zacatecas and surrounding states are some of the most. It is the most important silver belt worldwide. There was a recently built head frame on the project with a 100-meter shaft. It's fully permitted for mining operations. It's an open along strike to the north and south. Only a small portion of the known veins have ever been explored. It outcrops and can be mapped quite easily. The La Nina vein is parallel to it, and it has practically no exploration. There's, you know, in these epithermal systems, there's lots of potential to find more. So we're going to start rolling up our sleeves, hopefully fairly soon. We are still at a sub $1 million valuation. I think is very inexpensive, and we'll have more to talk about hopefully soon. So the symbol on Advanced Gold is AAX, and they trade on the venture, so that's AAX.V. I invite you to go to the advancedgold.ca website, and you'll find some of the overview or the highlights of the new Tabasqueña project, which also enhances the other project that the company has, which is in West Africa, where there's it's with the former American Barrick Africa, and now called Acacia. And you know, that's an interesting place to be looking for gold, and we'll see what we do with that one as well. So keep an eye on AAX with a sub $1 million valuation. Another company that I talked about on that one is one of my top picks for, it is my top pick for a buyout in the gold space, junior gold company to get bought out by a bigger company. Sabina, SBB is their symbol. Sabina Gold and Silver has a world-class project up in Nunavut. They've recently gone through some trials and tribulations regarding the permits, but things are moving ahead now that they've got the approval of the Nunavut Impact Review Board. So it looks like this world-class mine is one giant step towards becoming that, or this potentially world-class gold mine is getting a big step closer to making that a reality. And I think that now that that is out of play, and that now they're moving forward strongly, they're doing a lot of drilling, coming out with a lot of great results. I hope that they continue to do a lot more drilling, because I think when they do get bought out, that's the kind of activities that will get the majors to pay more for them. I think the majors can do all their own resource calculations and preliminary economic assessments. They've got some pretty good software. They can plug the numbers in. I think it's pretty clear. This one's one that any major gold mining company would want to own. You're talking about 80% of it being open pit with an average grade of 5 grams per ton. You know, they're open pitting in Nevada half a gram. This is pretty impressive stuff, and I don't think they're going to be around for very long. And that's why in this market where I see gold going higher, I think you want to own quality gold like this, especially one that I think has a built-in takeover potential, and that's what Sabina does for me. Another company I talked about on the show was Serengeti. SIR is their symbol. Serengeti has a couple of projects on the go. One is they just recently started drilling on. The other one is the really big target that I'm excited about. They've got this big geophysical anomaly that I think if they hit, it's kind of a hit it out of the park kind of home run, because it's a massively big geophysical anomaly. And so they've drilled, I hope they've drilled into something really sweet there. You know what, the downside protection for this company is the resource that they already have at that, I forget the name of it, Kawaka, or it starts with a K. Anyways, that project has a big resource on it already that's growing. It's growing in grade. It's got, as they expand, it's getting into richer zones, thick intersections. And so that one, I think, really protects the downside for the company. And the one they're drilling now is really not even priced into the stock. and the potential for hitting at that deep geophysical anomaly, I also don't think is priced in. So you're kind of getting two swings at the bat for a home run with your downside protection. I like those kind of scenarios. SIR is the symbol on the venture exchange. And the final company I wanted to talk about here today is Fjordland. Fjordland, FEX is their symbol. Fjordland's a new pick. They've done extremely well since the first time I talked about them on the show. Actually, the very first time we talked about them on the show, they were trading at, a few pennies. When John Kaiser and I had him on one of our zombie search and rescue mission shows about 10, 11 months ago. Why both John and I liked the story for Fjordland back then is what Dick Atkinson was working on, because we've known him for a long time and he's been a serious exploration guy for a long time. But what got the stock rocking and rolling recently was because Robert Friedland decided that he wanted to take another look for another Voisey's Bay type discovery in South Voisey's Bay, and that's where Fjordland has all their ground out there. And Fjordland was able to do a really sweet deal where they could get diluted down to, I think, about 35%. But if by then you know that you're involved in a Voisey's Bay type discovery with Robert Friedland owning the other 65%, he has a way of getting people excited about what he's working on, especially if it was another Voisey's Bay type discovery. I think that, that's the exciting part about FEX and why the stock's been doing so well since we started talking about them recently on the show. I'm working on getting interviews with some of these companies, Wolfden, GT Gold, the guys at Adamera, Serengeti, Fjordland. I'm trying to get some shows with all of them. I'll try to get Bruce McLeod on from SBB as well, so he can give us an update. It's been about a year since we had him on a show, and an awful lot of good things have transpired for that company in the last year. So I'll keep working on that. Let's get on to some trends. I'm going to go over to my screen here and pull up gold. So gold has been on a very bullish trend since January of 2016. We were all over the bottom. We saw a technical trend. It was at a time when I was looking for reasons to see the end of a multi-year bear market for gold, which is what we have had until from about 2011 till 2016. Now, since then, we've had got down to about just a little under 1,100. Started the year at about 1,100 in 2016, saw as high as just about 1,400, had a nice pullback to buy the dips on, and then it took down to about 11.5. Then it popped up again and has recently been up to about 1,330, and now is pulled back to 1,300. One of the things that I really find bullish is one of the best indicators of the health of a bullish trend is how it performs on the pullbacks. And right now, the futures of gold are on what you call a Fibonacci retracement. It's a technical term. It's a mathematician's term. But as you get back to this Fibonacci retracement, you're also hitting a support level, what used to be a resistance. And now you want to see that resistance turn into a support, so a floor. I think if we bounce off that floor, which I believe we're gonna be looking at $1,400 on gold fairly soon, before the end of the year, kind of soon. This is going to do some really good things for gold stocks. I've got a bunch. I'm that I'm involved with, that are sponsors, that I picked on my past shows. Go look at those past shows. There's a good list there for you to look at of gold stocks, because I think that those quality ones that I pick and ask to be sponsors and that I run they fall into what I think is the right way to build out one of these juniors. And so I see, and what gives me the confidence to make that such a strong, be so strong on gold. And now I'm a big fan of gold. I could be picking up gold projects right now. There's a reason why advanced gold, I was looking around for silver. Silver has been, well, it's been significantly underperforming gold since gold turned around at the end of 2015. It's kind of been just going sideways. It gets some spikes, comes back, spikes, comes back, spikes. But fundamentally, it's been going sideways at about a $17 average. I think we're going to have a very strong run for gold into the end of the year that drives silver much higher as well. And there isn't a lot of good silver companies out there for investors to look at. There's less good silver companies to look at, much less good silver companies to look at than there are gold companies to look at. I still believe there's only a small amount of good gold companies that you want to be looking at, but silver, it's tiny, that market. And in my case with Advance, we're getting involved in the most important silver district in the world. 40% of the silver 25% of the silver that's ever been mined in the world has come from Mexico. 40% of that came from the state of Zacatecas, which is where Advanced Gold's project is, and it's right beside a big historic silver mine. So it's a shadows of a head frame, and that's a good shadow to be in. So yeah, take a look at all these companies. Look at silver. I'm very bullish on silver, very bullish on gold. One of the things that gives me that confidence, I didn't mention it earlier, is the US dollar bearishness. Since 2017, the US dollar index, which is an index of all the major currencies, began the year at almost 103, let's call it. It's now down to 91.98. Every sort of recovery in sort of rally in that downward cycle has been met with even more aggressive downward pressure. And I think that's going to continue. I believe that the US dollar is very overvalued, especially when you have someone like Donald Trump running the country, as the president. I realize that his hands are tied in a lot of ways, which is how I like politicians to be. He really can't do much. It's like the Federal Reserve. They're painted into a corner that they can never get out of. That's what people don't understand. The Federal Reserve can never get out of the problem that they painted themselves into. If they need to lower interest rates, they can't lower interest rates because that would get the United States into negative. They're already at real negative interest rates. That would put them at actual negative interest rates. And I don't believe that the Federal Reserve or the US government will ever allow that to happen. And secondly, they can never raise interest rates. They got this massive book of all this crummy debt that they own that they can't sell to anybody. They talk about, to start selling some of that. Who's going to buy, we got a little bit of overhang in the market. How much you got to sell? Just $4 or $5 trillion. That's all. Can you buy that off of us? No, your currency's too high. This is just comical, the idea that they could raise interest rates. But here is the kicker of why they can never raise interest rates significantly. The US debt, national debt, is currently at 21 trillion. The US consumer debt, household debt, is at nearing 30 trillion. $51 trillion. There's about 50-some trillion reasons why they can never raise interest rates. I know never is a long time, but the idea that they could pay down some of that debt or grow their way out of it, not when you're looking at 20.5 trillion, folks, and the Fed is sitting on about 5 trillion of that debt. Ain't going to happen. They're not raising interest rates. So the US dollar is not going to get any support. And when you got the Twitter-in-chief talking about bombing people or any of his other crazy ideas, lately he's got the football players all up in arms. The guy, he's a buffoon, and he's the president of the United States. Thankfully, he's a handcuffed president who's never going to get any of his major plans through. But in the meantime, he's going to burn down a lot of goodwill of throughout the world. The visits, the visits to the United States is down. The economy's fighting with. He wants to fight with everybody. Do new free trade agreements. You go for it, Twit-in-Chief. But in the meantime, the debt's going to keep growing. The interest rates are going nowhere. The US dollar is going to stay under pressure. You want to own gold. You want to own silver. You want to own copper. You want to own the things that the rest of the people throughout the world need in order to live, to have economic growth. Those are the things you want to own, not US dollars. On that note, I'm going to say thank you for joining me. Have a great day. Check out all my companies that I'm involved with. Check out my sponsors. Check out my website at AllanBerryReports.com. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.